Tonight, we're going back to basics with marinara sauce. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Tonight, we are doing something a little different. It's more of a meal prep than an actual dinner. I'm out of marinara sauce, and I haven't bought it in going on a decade, so I thought I'd show you how I make my marinara sauce. And it all starts with a butt ton of onions and a gargantuan amount of garlic. So we are going to get this process and then we'll get over to the kitchen. My onions are a little small, so I'm doubling this recipe. So the recipe on the website will be half of this, but I'm using 2 onions and mine are kind of small. And then I'm using about 10 cloves of garlic. Again, I'm doubling this. So to get started, I'm going to get my chopper out because there's no sense of doing more work than necessary. And I'm just going to quarter this. And I will be putting the garlic and the onions in the chopper at the same time. They're going in the pan at the same time, so it's not going to hurt anything. And if anybody wants to know how to cut an onion, just stop the ends, cut it in half. It'll help get the paper off. And then we can toss the trash. And I'm just quartering these. I have a Braun 9-in-1, so it can handle just about anything. It's a workhorse. But there's no sense in making it work harder than necessary. And now we need to get the paper off the garlic. Super simple. Just smash it with the flat edge of your knife. And cut off the stem end and just plop it in. And now do this about 1,000 more times. Now that we have all of the onions and garlic into the food processor, we're just going to put the top on. And we want this to be minced, so very small, fine chop. And now, let's get to whirling it up. And don't forget to pulse this or you're going to have puree. And you want it looking kind of like that. Now we can get over to the stove and get the sauce started. All right, so since we are doing a double batch, I have got my Dutch oven out, and we are going to start by slightly caramelizing the onions. They're not quite caramelized, but we want them translucent and just starting to be a little jammy. So I have my stove on about medium to medium high heat. I'm going to add in some olive oil. And the garlic and onions that we just got through chopping. All right, so I'm just going to keep the onions moving until they start to turn translucent. I can start to smell the garlic. It gets aromatic. And it's got just a little bit of color on it. Let me see if you can see this. Now this will take about 8 to 10 minutes. Don't rush this because you don't want to burn the onions, but you also don't want to let them go too far. So just kind of keep an eye on them. And I'll see you when it's time for the next step. Okay, now that the onions have enough color on it, it's time to bust out the wine. That's our next step. Now you want about, generally speaking, about half a cup of wine. Since I'm doubling this, I'm using a cup. And you really just want to deglaze the pan. And take about just a few seconds. Just incorporate the onions and garlic into the wine. And then we want to let this reduce for a little bit. If you're not a big wine drinker, you can also substitute chicken stock for this. Now what we want to do is bring this to a boil and want it to reduce by about half. And then we can move on with the potatoes. Not potatoes. I got potatoes on the brain. We can move on with the tomatoes. This is marinara sauce, Jen. Alrighty, so we'll just let it do its thing and I'll see you in a moment. Now, once the wine has reduced by about half, and the easiest way to tell is if you can run your spoon through it and you can see the bottom. At least in my pan, that's the easiest way for me to tell. The next step is to add the tomatoes. Now, I use canned crushed tomatoes. On the original video that is no longer available, I said that tomatoes were tomatoes. I was wrong. Use San Marzano tomatoes. They taste the best and you can really tell the difference. Since marinara sauce is a very simple sauce, there is no place to hide, and this is where you want good ingredients to shine. Again, I'm doubling this, so I'm using 3 of the big cans. All right, and now what I do is I go ahead and stir the wine and the onions into the tomatoes. And since I don't have any fresh herbs, I'm going to add the dried herbs now. If you were using fresh herbs, you actually add them at the end. But I need basil, and I just eyeball it. You need about, well, for double, you need about 8 tablespoons. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And about the same with parsley. Then you need a little bit of salt. And don't skip this just because, again, very simple sauce. It needs this combination. Pepper. You stir it before it starts splashing. Now this is going to sound weird for those of you who aren't familiar with tomato sauces, but we do need about a tablespoon of sugar. It might seem like a lot, but remember, I'm doubling this. And it's just going to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. And I'm just making sure that everything is mixed up nice and good. Then I'm going to let it hang out on the stove for about 30 minutes. And then I'll show you what we do next. For this, make sure you cover the pan unless you want your kitchen painted with marinara sauce. Ask me how I know. All right, it's been about 30 minutes. And if you're wondering what this is, that's my salmon patties from last week. If you haven't seen it yet, go back and check it out. But I don't know if you can see this or not, but look at that. It is a wonderful marinara sauce. I'm going to take it off the heat. And of course, you got to make a mess because why not? But now that this is done, I'm going to let it cool for a little bit. And then we'll get over to the counter and I'll show you how we freeze our marinara sauce so it's always ready anytime we need it. All right, so the sauce isn't completely cooled yet, but it's about 10 o'clock at night and I want to go to bed. So what we usually do is let this cool overnight on the counter, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in my ever famous containers and get it set up so I can just put it in the freezer tomorrow. The only thing you won't see me do is putting it in the freezer. Now, look at that steam. So since this is meal prep and we're actually not having any pasta tonight, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my containers. Most of the time when I make this, we're having pasta that night. So I usually get about 3 containers out of this, but I'm not sure. So we'll see. And if you're wondering, these containers are rated to hold hot liquids. They are actually microwave safe. And these are the containers that chefs like to use. So I figured if it's good for a chef, it's good for a home cook. So what I want to do is I fill it up to where it's just below this ridge right here. That way it has enough head space to expand. And I'll just keep filling them up and wiping them down just because I don't want to make a mess in my freezer. Doesn't look like I'm going to fill this one all the way up, so we'll have this one in the refrigerator and we'll eat it over the next couple of days. But as you can see, making your own marinara sauce isn't that difficult. I'm getting 3, I think these are liter. I'm going to say 3 liters of sauce for the price of a couple of cans of tomatoes and some garlic. Honestly, in this economy, it's a lot more cost effective. It tastes good, better than most jars, if not all of them. And you can have them on hand whenever you need. I hope that you've enjoyed this look into the small ways I food prep. I don't do big cooking weeks or anything like that, but these small things save us a ton of time in the long run. They taste better, there's less preservatives. It's all around a win-win. I also hope that you've been enjoying our new format with our blog videos on Mondays and my cooking videos on Wednesdays. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you found it informative and want to see future videos, hit the subscribe button and don't forget the notification bell. And always remember, agree to disagree.